Hello, in this video I'm going to explain more about how your anxiety or fear has nothing to do with what you think it has. I always say in my videos that a fear of driving has nothing to do with driving, and it's the same for all problems. So a fear of heights has nothing to do with heights, and a fear of being in public has nothing to do with being in public. So in this video I'm going to give you two case studies featuring a fear of heights, which isn't a fear of heights, and a fear of being in public, which has got nothing to do with being in public. And I'm doing this because recently I've had a few comments from people who don't understand this. One of them was an angry therapist saying, "You can't be saying this, a fear of driving must be caused by driving. I take my clients back in their mind and we look for driving events and we talk about driving and I get them to go out driving." No, nothing to do with driving. And I had someone who left a comment saying, "My driving anxiety is definitely about driving because I've looked up statistics and they show how many people die every day on the roads." No, that's you consciously rationalising your problem because you don't know what it really is. So let me explain these two case studies that I want to talk to you about. These are not cases I worked on. These are ones that I heard about when I trained, because these are great examples of how the problem isn't the problem. So let's look at the first case study, which is a fear of heights, which has nothing to do with a fear of heights. As I tell you this story, see if you can tell what the problem really was. Any ideas now, because it's nothing to do with heights. The client went to a therapist presenting with the problem of a fear of heights, and they said, "Every time I climb up some stairs or go to the top of a building or go anywhere high like on a bridge, I have a panic attack. My hands sweat and I can't breathe and I can't move and I'm terrified and I feel like I'm going to pass out." Well, where therapists have gone wrong with this client before is they'd all focused on one event the client could remember, which was when they went to the top of a tall building. I think, if I remember, it was the Empire State Building, and they'd heard someone say something like, "Imagine if we have an earthquake right now," and they'd frozen and they just couldn't move because they were so terrified of the thought of having this earthquake when they were at the top of the Empire State Building. Now, can you see how easy it is to get that wrong? Because it's logical, right, that must be the cause of the fear of heights. No, because if it's logical, that's your conscious mind. The person I told you about earlier who was looking up statistics, it's conscious, it's rational, it's not the problem. The reason you have these issues is because you don't know what the problem really is. And when you do, it will release. Because like your mind is thinking, "Hey, you can't go up heights, you can't go somewhere high." Why? Because of something else that happened in your life earlier. And when you find that earlier event, then you think, "Oh, that's what it was." And your mind changes. "Oh, hold on, I got that wrong. I don't need to attach that to that." The link breaks, and your fear of heights, which has nothing to do with heights, has now gone. So what was the real problem? Well, the problem was that years and years before they went up this building, one day they had simply fallen down some stairs. That's what the problem was. They had a fear of falling, not a fear of heights. When they went somewhere high up, they weren't scared of the height, they were scared of the falling caused by falling down stairs when they were younger. So they revisited that incident of falling down the stairs. You talk about it, you process emotions that you maybe had locked away, and it releases. And this can involve people crying, laughing. Sometimes it's just, "Oh yeah, I remember that time I fell down the stairs." And then, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh, I forgot about that. I hadn't thought about that for years. And the next time they go up a tall building, where's the fear? It's gone. Because it wasn't heights that scared them. It was the fear of falling. every time they went high up, their mind was replaying falling downstairs. So the mind was thinking, when you're high, you can fall. So it wasn't the heights, it wasn't the thing on the building. That's merely what activated the fear. You don't find what activated it, you find what installed it. There's a difference. It's what we call the activating event, is what activates it. Like the driving, oh, it's my driving, because it happened when I was driving. No, that's the activating event. I don't know why I'm doing this from the hand, that's just my subconscious doing it. The activating event is merely the trigger. It's the sensitizing event over here, which happened earlier. That's the one you want. So, for example, a fear of driving might be caused by anything. It could be caused by relationships, money problems, being bullied at work. It could be anything. It's another problem that you just experienced when you were driving. Why? Well, maybe you were pushed around on the road by someone who cut you up or bullied you, and your mind was linking that to the bullying from school. That's how it works. But you see how it's not the problem. The problem isn't the problem. The problem is merely a trigger that sets something else off. So let's have a look at this second case, which was the fear of being in public. It wasn't. It's nothing to do with being in public. This person had a problem that every time they went out of the house, whether they drove, walked, whatever, they had overwhelming panic attacks. Anytime they went somewhere public, they just had a meltdown. They were screaming, crying, frozen, couldn't do anything. Nothing to do with being in public. Have a guess what the problem actually was. Well, you won't, and this is the thing. When people say online, I've got the answer to your anxiety, my method always works, you don't know anything. The therapist has no idea what your problem is caused by. My job as a therapist is not to give you the answer. I can't sit here and say, hey, you've got a fear of driving, you've got to do this and do this and do this and do this. Those are therapists who haven't got a clue. My role as a therapist is to help you find what the cause of your problem really is. And when you find the cause, you think, oh, that, I remember that. And it will be something you can't remember. People always say, but I can't remember what it was. Of course you can't. That's why you've got the problem. But I can't remember what it was. You won't. But I've sat here and I've thought of everything. Yeah, won't work. But how do I find this? I don't know what it is. Of course you don't. That's my job as a therapist, is to help you find it. How? By using hypnosis, by accessing your subconscious mind, by giving you tools to remember things. I can't make you do it, I can't make you do anything. Hypnosis is not about making people do things. It's not about me reprogramming your mind. It's about me helping you to focus, because all hypnosis is focus. All you have to do is, you don't have to close your eyes, but it helps if you do. It just shuts out the outside world. Close your eyes, focus on one thing, and just focus, and you're in hypnosis. And then when you're in it, different things will happen, and the therapist, if they're well trained, will be able to guide you and find things you've long forgotten about. So what was the cause of this fear of being in public? A bus stop. Yeah, nothing to do with being in public. The problem was, at the end of the driveway, there was a bus stop. So what's a bus stop got to do with fear of being in public? Because this client, their parent had been, one of their parents, had been a bus driver who had died. I think he was of a heart attack, if I remember. So every time they walked out of the house or drove out of the house and saw the bus stop, their mind was subconsciously thinking, bus stop, parent who died of a heart attack. That's what it was. They were simply missing the dead parent, because I had never processed the grief, and the sight of the bus stop at the end of the driveway was setting off the grief. Nothing to do with being in public. You can go to these people, oh, it's about being in public. You need to expose yourself. Go into shops. Don't expose yourself in that way. You need to go into a shopping centre and expose yourself to the problem. Fight the problem. Conquer the fear. Beat your anxiety. with my 3-step program, which won't do anything because it's nothing to do with being in public. They were being triggered by the bus stop. How is going into a shopping centre and forcing yourself into exposure therapy going to do that? You won't, because those therapists don't have a clue what they are doing. You're working on the wrong thing, the wrong symptom, in the wrong place, your conscious mind instead of your subconscious. So if you want to fix your fear, you need to find what it really is. But I can't think of what it is. That's the whole point. But I don't know what it is. That's the point. But I don't know how to access it. That's why you go to a therapist. You won't know what it is. You will have no idea what this is. And I wish you could see the sessions I've done where I've worked with people and their jaw hits the floor when they discover what it is. It's like, because they thought he was driving, and it turns out it was because they were bullied at school. Somebody was having an affair, and that was the cause of the problem. Long story, but that's what it is. It's something else. It's not your driving. And if you insist, it's my driving, it's my fear of flying, you'll never get anywhere. So you see, that's why working with a specialist helps, because when people come to me with a fear of driving, I know that it's normally one of two things. It's nearly always one of two things. So it's about finding which one of those it is for the client. Not always, but it's two common things that come up. Then, which event in their life which happened had something to do with one of those two themes. I'm making it sound much more simple than it is. But the more experienced you become in dealing with these things, you can then deal with a wider, broader range of things, because it's nothing to do with driving. So you don't need a driving specialist, but it's just that if you go to someone who works with weight loss, that's a totally different sort of thing. Or is it? Because weight loss has nothing to do with weight loss. I won't get into all that because that's a long story, but it's nothing to do with it. The problem has nothing to do with the problem. So if you want to fix your anxiety, the first thing you need to do is forget about this thing about, I know what it is, it's about this. That's just the way your problem shows up. And the more you say, oh, it's because when I drive and I get nervous when I'm driving, that's you consciously putting what I call an excuse onto the problem. You can't work out what it really is, and in some ways your mind will hide it. Why? Because your mind wants to protect you. The thing about the fear of heights, your mind's thinking, or their mind was thinking, oh, you don't want to fall, you don't want to fall. So every time you go somewhere high, I'm going to make you scared. But you falsely think it's about the heights. It's not. It's about the falling. Now you might look back and say, oh, well, that's obvious. It's easy to say that when you fixed it, to look back and say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Of course, it was about falling. That was their reason. It's different for everyone. And it's easy to look back and say, oh, well, that was obvious. If you think it's easy, how come you can't fix your problem? Because it isn't as easy as you think, and you have no idea what your problem really is. Check out these videos on the screen now for more help. And if you want to work with me one-to-one online from anywhere in the world, contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.